Kia ora Aotearoa and welcome to The Chew, coming at you from Ka Muriwai here in Aotearoa, ko Aotearoa Dad tēnei. And today we have our political commentator for The Chew, Alexa Forbes, back with us. Kia ora, Alexa.
Kia ora. Mihi kia koe.
Kei te pai. So, good to see you back again. And yes, you may have noticed we're still wearing the same clothes from the last one. It's because we're filming it all together. It's not because we're wearing the same clothes every day. But we're doing another focus on topical political discussions. And this week we're going to talk a little bit about something that I got a little bit outraged about. To be fair, all I heard was the soundbite, and so that was enough to get me outraged. But I thought we'd have a bit of a chat again, and so we can sort of flesh out what did actually happen and whether it was really bad or not. And this is the climate liability legislation that National have just sort of unilaterally come in and made a change on again. So let's talk about that.
I think what's quite interesting about this one is that our local MP had a bit to do with it, which is a bit of a worry. Anyway, so it's the Mike Smith case.
Right.
And
so what's the whole kind of situation in the simple terms?
Can I run through a bit of a timeline, which is going to be the easiest way to do that? Okay. And just in case, a quick definition for people that don't know what tort is, because I didn't know what that is. Yeah, a tort. A tort is a civil claim for compensation over harm caused by a wrongful act. So it's not like criminal law or contract disputes, but it's more like, if you had a car accident or negligence.
It's like how Americans sue civilly type of thing.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but this is what this is. And Mike Smith, Ngāpuhi, I think is Mike Smith.
Yeah,
anyway, so he's brought a case against 5 of New Zealand's worst polluters. That's companies allegedly causing climate harm. And so that's a tort because they've caused harm, and therefore he has a right to sue them to get compensation for that harm. Right. Okay, so that's the tort thing. Yeah. The bill that the government's brought in removes the right to sue for compensation specifically for climate harm, while leaving that right intact for every other sort of harm.
But did he just bring out a lawsuit and that's it?
Mike Smith brought a lawsuit, against like Fonterra and Zed, and I think there were 3 others.
And so has it gone through the courts? Or?
Yes, and the Supreme Court, and here's the timeline, which I think will explain this. February 24, early February, I think it was February 7.
Are we talking about this year? 2024. Oh, 2024, right.
Supreme Court ruled unanimously that Mike Smith could take Fonterra and 7, isn't it, emitters, could take Fonterra and 6 other major emitters to trial over their contribution to climate change, public nuisance, negligence, proposed new climate tort.
Public nuisance.
Yeah, the trial was due in 2027, okay? So the Supreme Court said, yes, there's a case, go ahead, do it.
Right.
May 2026, the Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith announced an amendment barring tort findings of liability for greenhouse gas emissions and applied it retrospectively, stopping Smith's case before it's heard.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the impact of that means that basically the government has put itself above the Supreme Court. Yes, which I think that gets my hackles up going, whew, that's a worry. So within weeks of the Supreme Court ruling, so later in February 24, then Attorney General Judith Collins circulated a letter to ministers proposing this statutory bar, saying that you couldn't sue for that. And
wait, hang on. So you said not long after the Supreme Court made this decision.
Supreme Court said, yep, you've got a case.
Judith Collins did what?
She went, we got to stop this.
You're kidding.
She went, we got to stop this. And then between June and July, and this is the other thing that you're seeing at the moment about, the guide, the aides getting advice from lobbyists by hand and by Gmail accounts. This is what it relates to, is this particular thing. So in June and July in 2024, Fonterra and Z Energy's government affairs staff hand-delivered briefing notes to the PM's office, calling the case a source of material sovereign risk, and that intervention was critical, and they proposed the
sovereign risk.
Yes, sovereign risk. So that
sovereign in what sense?
Well, what they're meaning is that New Zealand's the threat to our sovereignty. If we're not allowed to pollute, New Zealand's sovereignty. If we're not allowed to pollute, there's a risk to our sovereignty. I don't know. There we go. You have to ask them.
How do you make that argument? That is ridiculous.
I haven't seen the papers, so I don't know. March 2025, Southland MP Joseph Mooney submits his own members' bill, the Climate Change Restriction on Civil Proceedings Bill, using near-identical sovereign risk framing to the company's lobbying material. Mooney says he had no prior contact with Fonterra or Z Energy about it. So this is, I'm just giving you the facts as we have them.
This is the trust me bro stuff that they come up with.
So June 2025 and again in April 26, the Ministry of Justice's own officials recommend no action. So they don't want to do this bill, saying reform would be premature because the case is still before the courts.
Who said that, sorry?
The officials. Ministry of Justice officials.
Right.
But the national people we've just mentioned decided to ignore that. They could find little to no clear evidence that the litigation had actually hurt business confidence. And this is where you have your sovereignty thing, is that Fonterra and other companies were saying it would
Fonterra's not even owned by New Zealand anymore.
Well, I think parts of it are. A lot of it is. It's just parts of it aren't.
Private owners, right?
Well, dairy. It's a
that conglomerate, whatever you call it.
But the government decided in May 2026, the government decided to proceed anyway, overriding its own officials' advice. There we go. So there it is. And the defendants, i.e. Fonterra and Z Energy, had already put their preferred fix to the beehive. They'd handed those, this is what we want you to do about this. Those papers that we're all wondering.
And that's in this legislation.
And basically the bill has come up very similar to what those defendants have said.
How can anyone... why isn't the country just getting infuriated with this?
Well, this is right. So what these people are saying is that the tort law is the wrong tool to existing climate change response. And Goldsmith, the one who's now progressing this law, says the existing Climate Change Response Act and the Emissions Trading Scheme, ETS, are the proper mechanisms, and that climate policy should be set by Parliament, not worked out in the court. But there's a big gap there. If you think about that, and the gap is that the ETS works by capping emissions and charging companies for exceeding that cap, but agriculture is excluded. Fonterra doesn't pay that anyway. So you've got to have another mechanism to grab Fonterra for its pollutions.
Why are they excluded though?
They worked their way out of the ETS. That was another scandal many years back. But
so other people who pollute get held to account, but the biggest polluters don't.
Well, the ETS has been a joke all the way through, and it's still a joke. And that is why we're going to have so many billions that we have to pay after about 2030 when we haven't met our Paris
Paris Climate Accord
stuff, our promises. When we haven't met that, it's executable. So they are able to charge us. That will be a bill coming to New Zealand of many billions of dollars. And part of that is because the ETS should have provided by now enough money to pay that if we hadn't done the climate cuts ourselves, which we haven't. And the ETS should have given us the money to pay that. But it hasn't because, a lot of it's because all agriculture's been excluded. And that's the biggest source of our climate emissions. Going back to the public transport bill, that is something that contributes to our climate responsibilities. But anyway, there we go. So Fonterra is New Zealand's single biggest emitter, a named defendant in this lawsuit, and it faces no obligation to pay for its emissions under the framework that's held up as the alternative to a tort. And of course that framework doesn't work because Fonterra is not held by it. So there's a big gap in Goldsmith's argument there.
So one of the problems I have with political discussion is the deep hole that you get into when you try and understand this stuff. So is there, like, what's our simplest way of breaking down what's happened?
Okay, I'm going to try and do that here. So Mike Smith brings a bill saying, you guys cough up for the harm you've done to all of us with your emissions. Think of every waterway that's hurt, every carbon thing that's there, the big bill that's coming up when we don't meet our targets.
Yeah.
He's come up with that bill. Government is really scared of that bill, going, that's going to bugger up business confidence.
Before you get to that, remember the Supreme Court has agreed with it.
Yes.
The Supreme Court of New Zealand. This isn't just some random going, I want this. This is an agreement from our highest court, New Zealand's highest court, right?
That there is a case to answer.
There is a case to answer.
So let's bring that to the court.
Yeah.
Let the courts have a look. And then the government said, no, that's the wrong tool, can't do it. So has put in
the background, the government have said, we can't let this happen.
Yes, and the lobbyists have said that. The defendants to that case, which is Zed, Fonterra and 5 others, the defendants, that they're the biggest emitters in New Zealand, and they have said to government, you can't let this happen, and have given government basically the wording for a bill that could stop it from happening, which the government's which is in play right now. And the government has overridden it, and its officials said, nah, you can't do that to the government, but the government said, oh, we're going to do it anyway. So
its own official advice said you can't do that.
Yep. And then there's no public consultation, and it's just gone straight ahead. So it's gone in. This bill is away. It's happening.
Does Mike Smith have any redress at all? Like, surely they can't just like scribe his
No, I don't think he has any redress. I don't think that once Parliament, if the government has passed a bill, that has no public consultation. This is what I often talk about overreach of government, and this is another one, another example of that. Yeah. And so if tort is the wrong tool, i.e. going and suing for harm, what is the right tool?
What is the right tool? Because there isn't one currently.
No, and government says it's the ETS and a climate change response
act. But it isn't.
Because
it's excluding agriculture.
Excluding the major emitters. So that is not a tool. So anyway, that's a pretty simple. I think is that simple? Okay. Can you get that?
Yeah. So Mike Smith sues Fonterra, etc., for the harm they've done to our environment. The Supreme Court agrees that there is a case to answer for.
Yep.
Those companies that are being sued, they get their lobbyists to go to the government to say, we can't let this happen. The government creates legislation saying this is not the mechanism to hold these people accountable for, so you no longer have any case to answer, and we're going to retrospectively apply that to when this thing first started back then.
Yep, we're going to bring in a bill that you cannot sue for harm because of climate, you can't sue emitters for their harm to the environment or to people.
And that's it. Story done.
Story done.
So, Mike Smith, whatever you had,
sorry. Yeah.
And all of this happened behind closed doors without any public consultation.
No public consultation.
I mean, come on.
And then somebody's come up and gone, but hang on a minute. No, look, we found the stuff that's been delivered by hand and to people's personal Gmails that nobody would give up in the Official Information Act, but somehow we've got them now, or finally that's been released under that act.
I wonder how they got them.
Well, just journalists doing their job.
Yeah, true.
And so, and that's good. And this is, there's another story about how really strong journalism is important, and we're losing that too, but another story. But anyway, in this one, 118 lawyers and climate scientists wrote a letter and made these points I'm making to you, to the Minister, Goldsmith, And so that's where we are.
Outrageous. So this is the climate liability legislation already been passed. And
I don't know if it has actually. I'm not sure exactly where it's at this present moment. In May it was presented. So
but all it requires is enough votes in Parliament to get it through. Right. So National New Zealand First and ACT can just decide this.
Correct. So in the wider framing, to make it a bit easier, 118 lawyers and climate scientists, they wrote, and they're warning that a government willing to legislate around an unwelcome Supreme Court ruling weakens every plaintiff facing a deep-pocketed defendant, not just climate cases. So that's the big problem with this, is it's showing that the person with the deepest pockets is going to win. Yeah. Because they can do that.
I don't understand how a government can go against the Supreme Court decision so easily.
I know. So Smith...
Does that mean any government can write legislation to go against a Supreme Court decision?
Well, that's what it seems at the moment, but we've got to be careful with thinking about that. But Mike Smith does have another avenue open to him, and he's done this. Yep. He's petitioned a UN...
Chop down the tree on One Tree Hill.
There we go, that might work. He's petitioned a UN special rapporteur, arguing that retrospectively killing a case already cleared by the highest court undermines access to justice. So we may find...
Do we still have access to the Privy Council these days?
God, I don't know. Probably, yes. We've still got the Queen, so must we?
Yeah.
The King these days, of course. Yeah. So we have to be careful of overreach here, because it is well evidenced that this is targeted relief for lobbying companies and so on. But I think what is absolutely clear is that governments prioritise certainty for a few large emitters over a citizen's already won court case and over the only existing compensation mechanism for climate harm. So you might want to replay that and think about how that works, because I know we're out of time. But it's more than a climate story. This is a precedent question.
Yeah. This is about a government just writing legislation that goes against the decision made by the Supreme Court. To benefit
the lobbyists, the companies that are the ones that should be the defendants. They should be defending their position.
I mean, how does this
happen?
Be a
worry. Yeah.
Like, this is New Zealand, man. Like, you hear this kind of stuff in America all the time.
This is why we have to get a little bit active. And I hate calling people to be active in politics, because a lot of people hate politics. And I don't blame them. I live and breathe it and I like it. But I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea.
All of these multinational companies love that the average person doesn't get involved in politics. Yep. So they can influence all of it.
Exactly. And we can't let that happen. And we probably have to, as a country, come back to our values and actually hold our politicians to account for them, and be careful of those small parties that are managing to wag the bloody dog. And get into this. It's a real worry. Yeah. But there it is.
Yeah. I think it's dark times politically for New Zealand at the moment, and this is what a one-term government has done. Look at how much damage they've caused in one term. But
exactly.
It's so simple for people with nefarious sort of ideas can come in and make wholesale changes to the future of a country.
And this is the philosophical shift to the right that is enabling markets, enabling powerful and wealthy to extract more and more from environment and from people. And so you're ending up with greater and greater inequality and further degraded environment. And if you look at that in the great big picture, and you look at the Elon Musks and the Jeff Bezoses and them buggering off into space, because that's where they think it will, that they go next.
Well, that's the direction we're heading.
Yeah, just ruin this planet, and and the wealthy among us will bugger off to another one.
But they can't. They're like, that's an impossible. Elon Musk promised to get to Mars already. Yeah, we should, according to him, we should have been on Mars already.
Yeah.
And a lot of the money he gets in for all of his ventures come from the promises he makes about what he says the future is going to be. And most of them have never come true.
Correct.
I don't know why anyone holds that idiot up as some kind of visionary. He just makes up horseshit and then never lives up to it.
But he's become the richest man in the world. He's become the richest man in the world.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a separate thing. Let's have a chat about that one day.
Yeah.
The Wall Street allowed that by changing the rules just for him. I'm not sure why.
That's what our government's just done. Change is attempting to do with this climate law, is changing the rules to suit the businesses, the large corporates that are driving further degradation and further inequality.
Yeah.
Good note to end on, Corey.
It is a good note to end on. So, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm feeling a bit triggered at the moment about this whole court thing. So I guess if we've got a message to people who are watching, it's get out there and vote and be aware of the situation that we're looking at. That these large companies are lobbying our government to change the laws in their favour. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Come on. Thank you so much for coming in again. I'm sure we're going to have some more robust conversations about other topics in the near future. Remember that the election's coming up in November, so we've got plenty of time to talk about more issues as they appear on our news and outrage us even more. So on that note, if you enjoyed that, can you pop us a like down the bottom there? Just click the thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. I know a few of you are out there watching, but you're not subscribing. And remember, subscribe to the channel and we'll catch you next time on The Chew. Mā te wā.